Be improving the cycle provision throughout Cardiff City, sticking more cycle lanes in, not having cars parking on the cycle lane. That's kind of one of the most dangerous kind of and annoying things that can happen.
I think it's too big a question really. I think a lot of things connect together. So I suppose there's, for me, think about growing food in the city. So if there was one thing, it would be to plant fruit and nut trees all around the city.
I guess it would be the capitalist system which we all live under. Although it doesn't just cover Cardiff.
Well, I think I'd like to do something about the ability to cycle easily through Cardiff. I think, you know, we've got the Taff Trail, which is just wonderful. But what's really quite tricky is to be able to any form of east-west routes through Cardiff.
I think I'd start with the High Street. In fact, there's a new transition a project called Reconomy Project, and I'm hoping to be making some films with Transition Network to reconomise the High Street.
What a good question that. I will change the weather. I want a better weather to grow here, palm trees and fruit, tropical fruits, bananas.
I'd make it so that everybody who wanted an allotment could get an allotment and get rid of this ridiculous waiting list. It's just outrageous.
I think I'd sort out the transport system, safer walking, safer cycling and a bit more buses and trains.
Two things I'd change. I'd improve the cycle lanes and generally cycling, because at the moment cycling is rubbish in Cardiff, particularly if you've got kids, particularly if you're trying to take children. You can't. And the other thing is I would have more growing areas throughout Cardiff. I'd have more parks, I'd turn some of the park land that we've got, like Roath Park and so forth, I'd have more growing space in that, grow more edible trees, apples and so forth, that would at least replace existing stock with edible trees.
If I could change one thing in Cardiff, I would ask for the council and the big university to join up to the Cardiff Food Charter and look at more local procurement for their sites, which would have massive influence on local economy and improve the sustainability across Cardiff.
To be honest with you, it would be cheaper rents, because me and my partner are trying to move from Barry to Cardiff and it is so much more expensive. Our house is 565 for 4 bedrooms and that's the size we need, and it's going to cost us £800 or £900.
Enjoying to be in a garden that I'm helping, and she's trying to do the palm culture, so I think that's very good to learn here. Everybody is trying to make their own food and keep communicating with the town, so I think that's very good.
Some of the ways Cardiff Transition like to engage with the community and get new ideas, new information out there is through the show and tells we put on. Now, show and tells are themed talks, gatherings around particular areas of interest. We try and put them on every 2-3 months and engage the community to come along and then have room for discussion and ideas afterwards.
A group of us, I'd say about a year and a half ago, a year ago, came up with the concept of there's so much happening in Cardiff, really kind of interesting, innovative, kind of long-term projects that have been happening all across the city. But what those projects actually felt is that they didn't know of other projects, similar projects or other projects they could connect with or people could connect with. And when we had the first open meeting, people were saying we really want to learn more about what's going on in Cardiff. So we came up with the idea of mapping everything that was happening in Cardiff.
A Sustainable Cardiff is an interactive online map that shows, we're trying to get all activities in Cardiff involved with sustainability, so it ranges from groups such as cycling groups, gardening groups, wildlife groups, and we'd like to push it further to include businesses and maybe things to do with the health service, etc. So a comprehensive map of sustainable activity in Cardiff.
Recent developments which are very worthwhile are contacts with the council, Cardiff Council Sustainable Development Unit, the Cardiff Third Sector Council and Environment Wales, which they've all been saying how pleased they are with what we've been doing and how useful they think it is.
One of the main things I've enjoyed about today is the meeting of lots of new people, new faces that have just heard about the party, and they've got to come along and meet lots of the people who are already involved in the network and have been involved for many years. So it's been a great way of networking, communicating with new people, hearing new ideas, hearing about a few different new projects going on as well as realising the skills which we have out there amongst our network already.
There are lots of people in other groups who are involved in transition as a way of networking, but also there are various groups that have arisen from what transition has done. For example, the PPOD group, the Post-Peak Oil Discussion Group, was set up as a way of talking more deeply about particular issues. The first thing that we talked about was food and food production. Can Cardiff feed itself? Looking at the spaces in Cardiff that are available to grow things. And as a result of that, we had an event where people came and presented their findings, and out of that came a group called Farm Cardiff. And Farm Cardiff is specifically looking for growing spaces in Cardiff. Another group that's very closely associated with transition is Orchard Cardiff. So Orchard Cardiff, along similar lines, has been looking at all the fruit that's grown, both wild and in people's gardens, that isn't used. You know, in autumn, so many times you see trees with fruit rotting underneath it. So they're mapping fruit trees, but also looking at what can be done with that.